assessment report. The report indicates that the area planted in terms of maize increased from 1.7 hectares in terms of millions in the 2023 to 2024 season to 1.8 million hectares in the 2024-2025 season. The 6.4% increase in terms of the targeted 1.8 hectares based on this assessment, maize production in the 2024-2025 season is estimated at 2,293,556 metric tons, which is the fourth highest ever in terms of production in the country. The area planted in terms of traditional grains increased by 7% to 434,000 hectares in the 2024-2025 season and is 4% above target. The pure millet planted area increased to 251,265 hectares, reflecting a 29% increase from the 194,232 hectares planted last year. The production of traditional grains is estimated at 634,650 metric tons as follows: sorghum 436,784 metric tons, pure millet 188,261 metric tons, and finger millet 9,605 metric tons. The sorghum production is the highest in the country's history. The total cereal production in the 2024-2025 season is estimated at 2,928,000 metric tons. This represents a 290% increase in food production compared to the 2023-2024 season. The country will realize a surplus of 1,225,000 metric tons that will go into the strategic grain reserves at local and national levels. The production of tobacco, cotton, and sunflower increased by 15%, 52%, and 303% respectively. The total national head is at 5.7 million, a 0.4% increase in terms of the statistics. A total of 94,623 metric tons of beef was produced in 2024. Mashonaland East, Manicaland, and Midlands provinces were the top milk producing provinces in the 2024 season, accounting for 89% of the country's production of 115 million liters last year, which is a 10% increase from last year. Overall fish production in 2024 is at 31,296 metric tons, while crocodile skin sales increased by 34%. Cabinet considered and approved Zimbabwe's campaign strategy on the country's candidature for the non-permanent seat on the United Nations Security Council for the term 2027 to 2028. Zimbabwe's bid for a non-permanent seat at the United Nations Security Council for the 2027-2028 term has already been endorsed by both the Southern African Development Community and the African Union, and will be officially launched by His Excellency the President, Dr. E.D. Mnangagwa in Harare and in New York during the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly in September 2025. The outcome will be the reaffirmation of the country's commitment to upholding international peace and security, as well as the generation of international goodwill towards the country. Government considered and approved the hosting of the 2025 edition of the National Culture Month from the 1st to the 31st of May 2025. The 2025 National Cultural Month will be held under the theme Celebrating Indigenous Voices. The objectives are to celebrate the rich cultural heritage of Zimbabwe, promote cultural diversity, and foster national unity, to showcase the diverse cultural practices through various forms which include dance, food, attire, visual arts, film, television, music, and poetry, and to promote intellectual dialogue for cross-cultural understanding and exchange. The National Culture Month launch will be presided over by His Excellency the President, Dr. Idi Mnangagwa, on a date to be advised in Chikombedzi area under Chief Tsovani in Masvingo Province. The event will celebrate our identity and diverse cultures. It will also be a platform to showcase Zimbabwe's success stories in cultural development and its commitment to fulfilling regional and international protocols that promote the growth of the creative and cultural industries. The first week will focus on encouraging historical recipes and cooking techniques, connecting modern eaters to their culinary heritage. The second week will be an Indigenous Fashion Week, where the colorful and unique forms of cultural wear will be rolled out. The third week is the National Culture Month launch, while the fourth week is the Indigenous Languages and Cultural Dialogue Week. It will be dedicated to recognizing and celebrating indigenous voices through music, dance, visual displays, poetry, films, and language workshops. Communities are encouraged to celebrate their indigenous languages during the month of May. Provinces will schedule their activities around the Culture Month, and each province will hold its provincial launch, where the respective Minister of State for Provincial Affairs and Devolution will officiate as the guest of honor. Cabinet received noted progress reports presented by ministers as at day 50 of the 100-day cycle of 2025. In terms of the devolution and decentralization pillar of the National Development Strategy 1, the Minister of Local Government and Public Works highlighted the following achievements in terms of projects. The renovation of the Chegutu Civil Registry in Mashonaland West Province is at 70% in terms of completion. The renovation of the Chegutu District Development Coordinator's Office is at 65% in terms of completion. The construction of the Binga Civil Registry in Matabeleland North Province is at 65%. And the installation of 66 boreholes in Mashonaland East Province has reached 66% in terms of completion. Under the thematic area on housing delivery, preparatory works for the construction of the Mtapa Government Office Complex in Gweru and Vungu Midlands Province has commenced. In terms of environment protection, climate resilience, and natural resources management pillar in terms of the National Development Strategy 1, the Minister of Environment, Climate and Wildlife highlighted the following achievements in terms of projects. The rehabilitation of 200 hectares of the Dichwe wetland in Makonde District, Ward 4, for improved human well-being and economic management in terms of the ecosystem is on course. The restoration and protection of 154 hectares of the Chidobe wetland in Wange District, Ward 2 is on course. A total of 2,340 livestock and 400 households are already benefiting from the project. The establishment of a waste sorting and processing center at the Tafara Integrated Resource Recovery Center in Mavuku, Harare Metropolitan Province is on course. The construction of the state-of-art one-stop pavilion at Wange National Park main camp in Matebele North Province has reached 95% in terms of completion. The planting of a total of 4,000 indigenous trees on 2,494 hectares of land at Zamazama, Zungati, Niracheza, Ananda and Poshai villages in Shurugu District, Midlands Province is on course. The planting of 52,000 fruit trees under the 45th Independence Plantation Legacy Project in Gokwe North and South districts is at 95% in terms of completion. And the installation of 15 prototype three-dimensional printed automatic weather stations at 15 meteorological stations at Victoria Falls, Marondera, Wanke, Binga, Bight Bridge, Kezi, Rupike, Kadoma, Rishavane, Chipinge, Kanyemba, Mutoko, Mount Darwin, Chisumbanje and West Nicholson is on schedule. In terms of the economic growth pillar, in terms of the National Development Strategy 1, the Minister of Finance, Economic Development and Investment Promotion highlighted that the mobilization of tax revenue and non-tax revenue has surpassed the first quarter in terms of target. Under the Economic Growth and Stability pillar, the tax and revenue management system being implemented in 3 phases has achieved the following. The Release 1 core fronted processes and Release 2 tax agent module are both 100% complete. Meanwhile, the Release 3 backend processes 4 of 5 were also successfully implemented, although the system integration and risk compliance management module is also work in progress. Under the fiscalization processes, the following achievements were highlighted. Internal integration with 3 banks is in progress, whilst external integration is ongoing with 5 government departments. The user acceptance testing of the risk compliance management module, phase 1 is now complete and phase 2 is ongoing. The business intelligence reporting project is on course, while the launch of the singular account automatic reopening is in progress. Under the civil works projects, construction of the Zimra Chirundu cottages in Mashonaland West Province has reached 95% in terms of completion. And the refurbishment of the IDBZ Kanyemba Zambezi lodges in Mashonaland Central Province is 100% complete. Under the governance thematic area, the enterprise risk management project performed as follows. 19 executives from the Ministry of Tourism and Hospitality Industry and 29 risk champions from the Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission were trained. Under conferences, the Manicaland and Midlands investment conferences were held in February and March 2025 respectively, and the Manicaland and Midlands investment compendiums were completed. The 57th session of the Economic Commission for African Conference of African Ministers of Finance, Planning and Economic Development was held from the 12th to the 18th of March 2025 in Ethiopia, and Zimbabwe is the outgoing chair of both the committees of experts, and the 56th Bureau handed over the chairmanship to Morocco. Under the implementation of the International Financial Services Center, completion and gazetting of the International Financial Service Centers is on course, and the nationwide venture capital fund investment projects are on course. The crafting of the National Development Strategy 2 is on course, In terms of economic growth and stability pillar of the National Development Strategy, 1. The Minister of Mines and Mining Development highlighted the following projects under his purview. The establishment of an online permit system is at 90% in terms of completion. The drafting of the mineral development policy is at 96% in terms of completion. And the construction of the Palm River Energy Plant in Beitbridge is on course. The expansion of the Zimplats sulfur dioxide plant in Mashonaland West Province is on course. And the establishment of the carbon steel plant in Chivumvuma, both in Mashonaland East and Midlands provinces, is 100% complete. Cabinet received a report on the official opening of the 65th edition of the Zimbabwe International Trade Fair. His Excellency the President Daniel Chapo of the Republic of Mozambique officially opened the 65th edition of the Zimbabwe International Trade Fair on the 25th of April 2025 at the invitation of his counterpart, His Excellency the President Dr. Idi Mnangagwa, the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe. In his remarks, His Excellency President Chapo emphasized the importance of strengthening trade and economic ties between the Republic of Zimbabwe and the Republic of Mozambique, focusing on leveraging natural resources and infrastructure, especially the Beira corridor. He also spoke on the need to expedite the Takeover 9 integrated project, as it is an important artery for national and regional economic diversification. Cabinet received an update on the country's power supply situation and the Zambezi River water inflows at Victoria Falls. Cabinet noted that inflows on the Zambezi River at Victoria Falls have improved greatly. Tourists visiting the Victoria Falls from now on will be able to enjoy the spectacle more than before. Cabinet therefore invites all citizens and tourists the world over to visit the mighty Victoria Falls. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister and Chair of the session, for presenting today's Cabinet highlights. I now invite the first two questions from the media and ask the respective ministers to respond.
My name is Olin from ZBC. The question is directed to the Minister of Energy. We had the rise of water levels. What is the status of energy supplies to households and industry operations?
Thank you very much. Yes.
I'm Messi Mayembe from ZTM. My question is directed to the Minister of Finance. We understand that we have exceeded our in revenue income, but can we get a detailed account of our expenditure? Are we on track for the first quarter? Thank you.
Thank you very much. The third question. Over to you, Minister.
Thank you, Dr. Rushwa. The first question is to the Minister of Energy and Power Development. What is the status of energy to industry and for domestic use? Over to you, Minister Moyo.
Thank you very much, Minister. And I want to thank the ZBC representative for that question. Obviously, this comes from the report that there are inflows at Victoria Falls, which has increased tremendously from last year. This time it was at 707 cubic meters per second, and is now standing at 2,400 meters per second. And that has increased water in the Kariba Dam. For the first time last week, we were able to cross over. We started last year with Kariba was at 13.52% full. And this time it's at 13.73. We have crossed over. So we keep on being hopeful. What it actually means to households is that at present we suffer a lot of load shedding, both to industry and to households. The most affected obviously are households because we try to make sure that the industries keep on running, and some of the industries have insulated themselves by having captive power producing capacities, either using solar or some are using thermal, and others are using mini hydros. Some have resorted to ordering power from countries outside Zimbabwe directly to them and using ZESA for wheeling that power to their factories so that they can insulate themselves. But the households which have insulated themselves have had solar panels installed at their houses, and ZESA now is using that to attract those who install solar PVs to also net meter and send that power to the households. So during the day, that's when we have the lowest load shedding, because we are using both solar and we are using thermal and or hydro electricity supplied by ZESA. But you will see that in a case like yesterday, that solar was not very effective because of the clouds. So there was much more heavy load shedding because of those circumstances. Solar has that disadvantage, but of course it is an advantage that when the sun is shining, we have a lot of it. And right now we have about 96 megawatts of installed solar. That has been given to us, but I know that a lot of households have not indicated to us how much solar they have put in their household. Going forward, we think that our main target is to make sure that agriculture, especially when we have winter plowing, we add at least 500 to 600 megawatts of irrigation power if the figures that we are being given by the Minister of Agriculture are fruitful and come to fruition, then the power demand increases. That's where we think this year, because of the Kariba, which is increasing, and because of some of the work that is being done at Wange 1 and 6, and also the firm supply that we are getting from Wange 7 and 8, that power for agriculture will be assured. So we want to assure the farmers that go and plow your winter cropping as indicated by the Minister of Agriculture, and we can assure them that there will be power available for that purposes. So the management of the power balance is what we must do in order to make sure that those who demand the power, particularly to drive the economy, get that power. And that means in some cases households might suffer a little bit. I thank you.
Thank you, Minister July Moyo. The second question is to the Minister of Finance, Economic Development and Investment Promotion, in terms of a detailed account in terms of expenditure. Over to you, Honorable Mtulingwe.
Thank you very much. I thank the gentleman from ZTN for the, I didn't quite catch your name, ZTN for the question. In terms of revenues, we managed to raise 1.571 billion US dollars equivalent in terms of revenue. But in terms of expenditure, our expenditure was 1.53 billion US dollars equivalent. So again, we're able to live within our means, as we always do we'll also try to run a tight budget because of limited space for borrowing, especially externally. So we try to leave within our budget in terms of expenditure. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Ministers, for responding to those questions. Let us move to the second and final round of 3 questions. Yes.
Wallace Hushito from the Herald newspaper. My question is directed at if you can maybe explain to the general Zimbabwe the benefit of Zimbabwe gaining an non-permanent seat in the United Nations Security Council.
Thank you very much. Second question. Honourable Minister, there's only one question.
Thank you, Dr. Rushwaya. Honorable Murwira, the benefits in terms of Zimbabwe securing the United Nations Security Council seat, which is non-permanent.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. And thank you, Wallace, for that question. Zimbabwe was already 2 times a member of the non-permanent member of the Security Council in the early 80s and in the early 90s. And 35 years later, we are bidding again for a seat, a non-permanent seat of the Security Council. I think it is important, therefore, to refer to what Zimbabwe stands for in terms of our national objective. In Zimbabwe, our national objective is to build a free and democratic society that is sovereign, where people are prosperous, happy, and fulfilling lives. You would refer yourself to Chapter 2 of the Constitution and Section 8 thereof, where this is well stated. These objectives of a happy people with fulfilling lives who are prosperous can only take place in a peaceful and cooperative world that respects the sovereign equality of states, where Zimbabwe is a responsible member of this international community. If you refer again to Section 12 of the same Constitution, which says what is Zimbabwe's foreign policy principles. First is to protect our national interests, which you can then summarize again to mean that we want to live happily, peacefully, and be prosperous. This again can only take place in a peaceful, tranquil world that respects sovereign equality of states. We then go and look at the importance of respecting international law, which is in our constitution, peaceful coexistence of this country with its neighbors near and far, as well as the peaceful resolution of any disputes that might arise in this world. But most of all, Section 12, subsection 2 of the same constitution says Zimbabwe shall belong to Africa as a Pan-Africanist country, but belong to the United Nations and take its responsibility for the promotion of peace, progress, and upward movement of humanity. So if you look at it and that the constitution is the expression of the will of the Zimbabwean people, it means Zimbabwe has to participate in the international environment in which it can curve its place, where the prosperity can be experienced, where we have happy and fulfilling lives. But it cannot come cheap, it has to come with responsibility. So Zimbabwe is a responsible part of the international or the Committee of Nations. So the benefits are that we promote our interests, our prosperity, and promote this by promoting peace and tranquility around the world. And the United Nations Security Council just stands for this. And Zimbabwe wants to be part of this as a responsible citizen of the Committee of Nations. So the benefits are, using the language that you use a lot, journalists, immense. I don't know whether immense starts from 1 to 10 or it starts from 0 to 100, but there are immense benefits when it comes to fulfilling our national objectives. And within the Committee of Nations, where Zimbabwe is playing its part in order to promote sovereign equality of nations, create an environment in which we can thrive, and that environment can only be secure and peaceful. I thank you.
Honorable Ministers, we have come to the end of today's press briefing. Thank you very much for responding to the questions raised by our colleagues. We'll meet next Tuesday.
Thank you.
Yeah, done. We're done.